Okay, we'll call this meeting order. Everyone join me in the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of September the 15th and September the 22nd. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Wilkerson?
Second.
Smith? Is that an all yes vote?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Public comments. Did anyone signing in, Bill?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we'll go to the presentation then. Dr. G. Cockrell, glad to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. Members of the Board of Education, Mr. Midkiff, Mr. Priestley, I know you're on the phone. I'm wishing you well.
Thank you, Dave.
We're miss seeing you here. Mr. Midkiff asked me to talk a little bit about the support that we're giving your schools this year in several different areas. And I always like to frame everything through the those high-quality standards, so 7 high-quality standards that your OEPA report was based on. And so I'm going to start with number 3, which is curriculum and instruction, actually kind of the heart of how you move your schools, your students, and your school system forward. This year, we really have several different projects in Lincoln County. One of them hasn't started, so I think I'll start with the one that hasn't started. It's called LDC, well, the second iteration of LDC MDC, which is a literacy design collaborative and a math design collaborative. The first cohort, there are folks who are working on this at Lincoln County High School. It's a fairly rigorous, when I say fairly, it depends on the perspective of the teacher and the coach, but it's a fairly rigorous opportunity for your schools to develop not only lesson plans, but strategies in the classroom that really raise the level of intensity and rigor. And I can report that Lincoln County High School sent several of its lesson plans to be refereed, and we haven't gotten the results of that, but that's a really good sign, because that means they really are taking it seriously, and it can really take math instruction to the next level. And I'm actually not sure which classrooms, they're not every classroom, are they, Mr. Midkiff? The purpose of this is to really begin with teachers that are already at a fairly high level of intensity with the work they're doing in the classroom, and then eventually this becomes a peer teaching kind of a system where they then start working with their peers in the school. We have moved into the third iteration. I'm actually not sure whether that was first or second, because we're in the third now. And we're actually going to include 3 middle schools here in Lincoln County once that begins. When I say once that begins, SREB and the State Department actually facilitate that, and they have not started cohort 3 yet. So as soon as cohort 3 begins, then your teachers and principals will be trained, and then those coaches will come from RESA, who were also trained by SREB. Again, I believe in this process. I think it elevates the level of instruction in the classroom. And after about 3 years, I think you will see some results in those classrooms. Several of the other areas where we're supporting, not every school, but most of your schools are in the area of Next Gen standards, and most of that work has focused upon the English language arts areas. We're looking at informational text, close reading, text complexity, and writing, all of that being within the scope of the literacy area. And that has really happened just at request. And we've been in many of your schools during last year, and we had many requests for this year. And that will continue because, as you all know, that test that did occur last year really looks quite different from the testing that we've taken before. And that text complexity piece is a really critical variable in those students being successful. So we'll continue to support your teachers and schools that request it. For several years, we have supported many of your schools with IPI, which is Instructional Practices Inventory, and it really takes a look at how engaged students are. What does that engagement look like on a scale from 1 to 6? And that, again, is a teacher-led initiative so that teachers then talk about not that person in Ms. Smith's classroom, the teacher in Ms. Smith's classroom, or her student teacher wasn't up to snuff. That isn't what they're looking at. They're looking at those levels of engagement. How are students reacting and interacting? And then that becomes a dialogue among teachers. How do we get to 5s? How do we get to 6s? So we'll continue to support at least one of your schools in that particular area. We are also working with fairly serious intensity in several of the schools on data and the use of data notebooks and data walls, because that again is another tool that really assists those students to move to the next level. We have several initiatives this year where your principals are attending and they are going off-site. We know that the best work happens on-site with your teachers, but we do have some mechanisms in place to support your principals and your teachers, particularly leadership teams. And we are looking at 10 sessions, 5 sessions for principals, 5 sessions for assistant principals, with Dr. Steve Edwards, who's really one of the folks in the eastern part of the United States that just has such an intense reputation for really moving principals to the next level. And so we hope that that will have an impact on the folks who are participating from Lincoln County. We also have a pre-K initiative. There are 4 sessions, actually there are 8 sessions, morning, you can choose morning or afternoon. And we do have pre-K teachers from Lincoln County attending that. And they are also getting a high level or high intensity work with not only STEM standards and performance assessments, even at the pre-K level. The other area that we're working on with your leadership teams, some schools have more than one leadership team, as Mr. Midkiff will let you know, but we're working with leadership teams and teams, PLC teams that actually are looking at data and want to have a really high level of teaming. So we have 2 initiatives going. One is that we're going to look at Nancy Love's work, who is a guru with the deep diving of data. How do you move past this superficial look at data, which really makes the difference between your students succeeding or not? And that begins on October 19th. And we're also in November beginning work again with Richard Lawrence. How do you become an effective team that moves students to the next level? So those are the initiatives we have going right now in terms of professional learning. And I just want to turn to 2 areas with technical assistance. As you know, you had a Catalyst school last year at Hamlin Pre-K 8, and we kind of talked about what does it mean to be a Catalyst school. It's really a revamping of how you do business as a school, that everyone in the school takes responsibility for the leadership of that school and for the leadership that comes when students move to the next level. It also looks at professional learning differently, saying that teachers should decide what professional learning should occur in their schools because they really know what's best for their students. They know where their students' deficits are. Lincoln County is not really a county that is like several of our other counties. You actually allow that to happen, but in some of our counties, they say everybody has to have the same professional learning at all times. Well, it really makes no sense because the students in Hamlin Pre-K 8 may have different needs than the students at Duval. So that particular project is a really interesting project. We had 3 schools last year. Statewide this year we have 27. And you probably have already heard that at Hamlin Pre-K 8 they have made some changes in their schedule. They are doing some different things. And that's a result of a collaboration about what does it take to get students engaged and excited. What should our schedule look like? And we're placing a lot of emphasis at the direction of the State Board of Education on reimagining time within your school day so teachers can meet. So that's a really interesting, I want to say it's an experiment, but we can already see some movement on test scores and teachers taking leadership in their schools. So that will continue. It is the hope of the State Board that we will move many, many more schools into what is called the learning school model. That's what this model is. The first 6 schools were the catalyst for everyone else to move. Now we'll move into a learning school model next year, and eventually, if this continues, every school in the state then will become a learning school. I'm also going to be doing some work at Lincoln County High School. And we'll be working with their priority team and their leadership team, just in terms of support to focus on data and what that data needs to look like to frame responses at the site-based level. So those are many of the areas that we're looking at. When you take a look at, we have two things that are on the burner that really could impact Lincoln County, and definitely will impact Hamlin Pre-K 8. We have recently submitted 2 national grants. We always are bridesmaids. We come like 1 point away from getting $30 million or $400,000, and we get so disappointed. But anyhow, we keep trying. So we've submitted 2 grants. There are only 4 going to be picked in the nation, with 1 and 6 in the other. So you know that does mean that it's pretty competitive. But Lincoln County has joined in both of those grant submissions, and we would be working on building student leadership, student voice, student aspirations. How do you look for a future, and what do you need to do to meet that future? It would be wonderful if we could get that. We should hear within 2 months. And then we have several schools that, in Lincoln County, that would become a part of that, where we begin working on how do you set goals, how do you find your voice, and then how do you make that a reality for your future. So it's really very exciting work. So, you all have any questions for me?
All sounds good. We certainly appreciate y'all's assistance.
Well, thank you very much. You know.
Steve, you got a question for us?
No, I'm gonna let her off the hook today.
Oh, thank you,
Don't do
Mr.
that.
Priestley. That is so sweet of you. I do want to
We
say.
talk on occasion, Dee, so
We
anything
do.
I think of, I know you're available.
Yes, I'm always available for you. You know, when you look at those 7 standards for high-quality schools, we try to frame our work around those. Curriculum instruction, we know the impact of the classroom teacher. The other area, which is area 2, it's really not like area 51. It's area 2. It's a good place. Area 2 is teacher leadership. Well, you all are used to me by now. You know, I like to have fun. Teacher leadership, principal leadership. So we are working with principal and teacher leadership, and we really hope that that makes an impact. There are lots of other pieces to those 7 standards, and the whole notion of continuous improvement is something that we will support all Lincoln County schools on. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
letting us, allowing us to support your schools. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
Big thank you so much. I know you're such a busy lady. When I listen to all the work that you're doing in Lincoln County, and I think about the work that you're doing in the other counties as well, it's phenomenal, the level of work that you perform, and how important it is to us out here in the school districts to have that support. For counties such as Lincoln, you know, we're not wealthy, as you know, and the professional development that you provide to our principals and our teachers, you know, we can't put a price tag on that. And it's quality training. You've got a great staff, they do great work. And as we always say, we know that our REIS is the best REIS in the state. And that's as a result of the work that you do in your leadership. You know, I can't say enough, and my appreciation for that, being able to collaborate with you on whatever endeavor it may be. You're always right there when I've got questions or needs, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for being here this afternoon.
Okay, Mr. Cumming, you're up next.
Hi, good afternoon. I just wanted to give you a few updates on the world of transportation and some of the things that's happening, and keep you abreast of what's going on. One of the first things I wanted to mention was our exact time clock. Our drivers and our mechanics each day are using the exact time to clock in. In the past, we've had some technical difficulties. Appears to be ready to go now. We did a download, 2 weeks ago. And everything seems to be showing up. We're going to do one more download so that their times will be able to be merged with our program and the WEBA system that Verda uses in her office for payroll benefits. So that should be coming along pretty quick. You know, as far as the technical problems that we had, there was a problem with WEBA's being able to read the input that we had. So it appears to be fixed now, so that's good news. Our bus and vehicle online sales, we have everything ready to go. We have all the information in the program with surplus, public surplus. We had 3 pictures as of this morning that we have to redo because when they took a picture of the dash of the buses, it showed the radios that we use. We're not selling the radios, so we're going to retake the pictures so that we can post them back online. As soon as those radios are out and the pictures are taken, we'll set a time. I'll advertise in the paper, then we'll let our auction begin. Okay? Another thing that we're looking at in October, we have a webinar, if you will, a presentation on software that's a route software that will help us, we think, and that's what part of this presentation is, to see if it'll fit our needs, but it'll help us determine if we're using our buses the most effective way, if we need to consolidate runs or move things around, and this software should help us with that process. But obviously, after October, when we have our meeting, we'll come back to you and let you know, if this is the right product and if this is something that we want to look at. Along that same line, there is also another software that I'll be looking at in October that helps us to streamline our trip planning process so that teachers or coaches will be able to go on a site. They'll be able to put in a request for whatever kind of trip that they have. The principal approves it, it sends it over to me and to the superintendent's office for approval. And it puts it on a calendar so anybody can pull up the calendar and see what trips are planned for that month. Main benefit of that is it streamlines our process, but it also makes sure that we have an electrical copy that can't get misplaced. So I will let you know about that as it comes along too. Probably the most important thing as far as I'm concerned coming up in October, in collaboration with the Lincoln County deputies and the sheriff, we're going to try to promote public safety awareness with our school buses. So at different times throughout the month of October, there'll be a cruiser following our buses as they make the routes, watching for people who may try to run our stop lines, looking at things as we do to see if it's a safe place for kids to stop, just general safety kind of things. The last thing that any of us want is for something to happen to one of our kids when they get on the bus or get off. And I know that you have seen in the papers the close encounters that people have. We have those in Lincoln County too. It seems as though ours is sometimes not as close as a lot of other places. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to put importance on it and make sure that we're out there to make sure that our kids are safe. So the month of October, they'll be following the buses. Okay? Any questions?
How frequent?
We haven't determined exactly the number of routes or when he could do it. Officer Knapp will come over and we were looking at a couple of routes. And he didn't give me how many days or how many times. But quite frequently, I would expect.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Have you received any of the new buses yet, Paul?
Oh, we have received a couple. Actually, I have scheduled 2 to come in the morning and 2 tomorrow evening. Didn't get a chance to tell you that, but I talked with them this evening, so that's going to help our cause a whole bunch because we're really down in spares right now. We had one went out yesterday on back to the Heritage and one today, so we're without spares, which is, as you know, makes it difficult for our athletic trips and other things going out in the evenings, but hopefully tomorrow we'll be in a little bit better shape.
Good. Anyone got any questions, Rob?
I do, Fred.
Okay.
Ron, going back to the bus auctioning,
Yes, sir.
can you explain explain to me how it works when, I know they bid online and it's over a period of days, I guess. But once it's determined who got who's the successful bidder,
Mhm.
when do they have to pay their money? How quickly?
Well, it's a pretty quick process, and we had asked Public Surplus to add in there that once the auction was completed, 14 days, I believe, they need to pick the buses up, or we could resell them. So we put that stipulation in there because of what we ran into the last time with a bus that ended up not being sold at all.
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking about, because I know last year, I think we had some that put it off several weeks or maybe months, and then didn't we have somebody, one of the people who bought a bus, decide in the end that they weren't going to take it after all?
Yeah, that's right.
So you're saying that they have 14 days to pay the entire amount?
Yeah, to pick up the bus and take it.
Well, I want them to pay first.
Yeah.
But they have 14 days to do all of that, pay it and pick it up, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then if they don't do it within 14 days, then you can put it back online?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So it'll go immediately back online.
It can, we
Won't
can
extend
roll,
the next year in.
we can roll it right back in,
That's good.
which is, something we don't like. And if, and if we have difficulty selling them online, then we can look at other avenues if we need to. Good.
Anyone else have a question?
Thanks.
Mr. Smith?
Well, I know you guys want to talk about signs again, so I'll start with that. I have sent the training information from Daktronics to each school so that they can get a designated person that would be in charge of programming their scrolling signs. So hopefully you'll see some scrolling messages here soon. Now, with the old signs, what I came up with is I called the Ranger and Midway, and told them that those old signs could be refaced. Ranger doesn't even have a sign. Midway's sign is not nothing to write home about. So those principals were interested in the old signs. And I just now today got the information on what that cost would be. It's going to be real close to $5,186 for the same company that did the other signs, Alley Cat Signs, to take those signs down, take them back to their shop, reface them. It'll be Midway Mustangs instead of Duval Yellow Jackets, or whatever that principal wants to put on their sign. And that's taking them back and installing them. The only thing that it doesn't include is running the primary circuit to the sign location, in other words, the electric.
Is that a total of 5,000 or 5,000 for each sign?
For each per sign. Per sign. I thought that was better than sending them to the junkyard. And the schools are excited about that. We haven't discussed any financial arrangements, like whether they have money to assist with this endeavor or not, so I don't know. I haven't told the schools, I just got this probably an hour ago, so I haven't even communicated this to the schools on the cost yet.
These signs would need electric ran to them, what type of sign?
Just to light it up.
Just a light.
Just to light it up, didn't it, for not?
Well, the sign at Lincoln County High School, can they operate it from the high school?
Yes, there's a device that will go on the roof,
Okay.
that they can set at a computer inside the school, as long as the wireless and everything's up. They can sit there in the classroom near that device and program that sign without going even to the site. So you can go on site and do it, but I assume that's what they'll prefer to do.
So, yes.
Okay.
Got any questions on the sign, Steve?
No, no, sir.
At Duval, we've got a project that's taken a lot of time, it's kind of unexpected project. We're dividing a room up there. We've tore the shelving out and we're gonna repair the floor, put carpet in. We've got the drywall wall up to divide the room. We've got a couple doors we're putting in that wall, and we're gonna install a new emergency exit window for fire escape. And we're gonna put another air conditioner in, so we're spending a bunch of time at Duval right now to address their issues.
What's the reasoning for this?
Bill probably can explain it better than I can. I know they had some additional special ed students.
Had to have an additional room because of the older special needs.
We've had a visit from the fire marshal and the State Department of Education. We've got some work there to do. The fire marshal, we've probably got 3 or 4 months of work to do, rather than the last fire marshal we had, where we had a year's worth of work to do. So it went rather well. And so did the State Department of Education. The facilities guy there has done an inspection, and it went well. The windows at Ranger and Hamlin, we have a tentative date of October the 12th for them to start at Ranger and then move on to Hamlin. Okay, let's talk about the field. I have given you a handout, and I've tried to address the questions that Mr. Midkiff gave me that you wanted some information on. The first page is from Field Turf, and that first price of $480,000 would be the cost to excavate, install drains and base, the rock on the football and the soccer field. If you want to excavate, install drains, base, and rock on the track and the football field / soccer, it's $750,000. The information on the second page is one of the other questions you'd ask, is what the cost would be for a grass field. And if you look at the base bid plus alternate bid number 1, it says turf field there, but that's what they mean is a grass field, not turf field. And it's $608,000, $870. The third page is kind of an explanation on the differences. I kind of circled the $170,000 amount. That's the amount of money that you waste from going to a grass field to a turf field. And that's assuming that you don't do anything with under drain and the sprinkler system. Now, if you do that, that would be wasted money spent too. That's $120,000. But the $170,000 is just the grass field with drains. They have to dig up the drains that's installed on a grass field from the end zone to end zone and replace them. Now, the ends that go takes the water to the river or wherever we take it, that can stay, but all the drains on the field would have to be dug up and replaced to go to a synthetic turf field. And I hope that addresses the questions you've asked me. Do you have any other questions?
I was looking at something here that really puzzles me. They're asking $10,000 for seeding the field, and I realize it's more than just a field problem. It's sales property. I just had recently had a bid on a 1 acre plot on my farm, and for $700 for seeding 1 acre. Total hydro seeding. I just can't see why it would cost $10,000 to seed that field, hydro seed field. It seems unreasonable.
Actually, the seeding in the base bid is seeding all the areas that are outside the field.
I just said that.
Oh, okay.
I realize that.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
I don't know what the total acreage would be, but do you have any idea, roughly?
Well, I can think about it, maybe come up with a rough idea. If I were gonna estimate it, I'd estimate 6 acres. That's
6
there.
acres.
Yes.
10,000 seems unreasonable. I realize they'd be hauling their own equipment in here, I realize that would cost a lot of money, but, and if I question that $10,000, then I have need to question the rest of it. Seems excessive to me for what I know.
Well, since it's a, the only explanation I have is since it is an estimate, they're gonna include worst-case scenarios, I guess. I can't explain that $10,000 fee.
I know you have to accept.
I didn't figure it.
You have to accept what they send you, I
Yeah,
realize that,
and-
I'm not questioning.
And, what you might wanna do if you decide which way you wanna go. I guess that's why I was a little confused in our last meeting, that you wanted me to prepare a grass field for a turf field. I think you see now why that's really not a practical thing to do, with that $170,000 waste. But what we could do is, if you decide which way you wanna go, then you could get some cost estimates from other companies, if you think these are unreasonable. I don't know who that would be right at this point, but I could look into that if you do figure out.
I don't imagine there are a lot of companies that do this.
There's probably not a lot of local companies
Oh, no.
that have the kind of experience that Terradon would have. But there are some other companies out there that would not be local. And there's some other companies out there that you could compare field turf prices to. Field turf is on the RISA bidding sheet that you can buy from, but that doesn't mean you can't shop around, if that's what you decide to do.
Well, personally, I think we might as well forget artificial turf. But we don't have that kind of money, and I don't want to spend that kind of money on a football field when we got educational needs. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, artificial turf sells the picture. We had $3 million with our math teacher. So, I mean, that's my opinion. You got any comments, Mr. Priestley?
Yeah, I got a lot, but I'll keep them to myself. Clarification, Dana, the seeding, that $10,000 that Ms. Brooks was referring to, now, isn't there an additional cost somewhere on that sheet there if you seed the football field itself?
Yes, that's my understanding.
All right, well, I mean, I'm assuming this, what you're reading, I don't know whether that's something you just received or something we've seen here in the last week or two.
It's something I've seen, but I only reviewed the information that I was gonna talk about, but as I recall, from another page, I think it was from a question that you had asked him, that the initial.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because the response, I have gotten an email of the responses they gave to those questions, and I'm assuming that's what you're discussing here, and it's not something new that's recently been sent to
Yes.
you.
That's true.
Okay. Well, I never did quite understand that. I guess there's a different type of grass that goes on the football field opposed to the rest of the surface.
Yes, that's what he said.
Okay. I don't know, obviously they're in business and they don't, I can get back to what Fred said there, it's not set in with a lot of people, and obviously these people, that we do not have monies to do these things. Ideally, in a perfect world, we'd be able to do a lot of this. We don't, and I don't see where it's ever going to happen. So they make some statements in there that kind of irritate me a little bit, that we're going to waste money if we go back and do this later on. Well, I understand that, but if you don't have it to start off with, but once again, they're in business. But have we ever clarified now that, even in there, the drainage that goes along is from one side to the other on both sides of the field, well exceeding the field, the whole length of the whole area, those would be required, those would be necessary no matter what you did, right?
From the ends of the field to dispose of the water, you're gonna have those regardless, and you could keep those for if you ever changed fields, you could keep
Well, I mean,
them.
just even because, but those are going to go far beyond where the football field is, or the track is. They're going to go from one end of the, I don't know what to call it, the complex to the other, right?
Yes,
Like from down to the river edge there, all the way down to the hillside where the pond is almost. Isn't it, would those run on, parallel on both sides of the field, all the way on both sides?
yes,
Okay, so that would have to be there no matter what you did, what kind of turf or anything else, right?
yes.
Because that's, I don't know whether they really understood, maybe they did, but they've given us options that, what we were really wanting was to get the correct elevation of the whole site, and then do the absolute necessities, such as running those drains along both ends, and then putting, some type of seating on it. Then what we would be able to do beyond that, we could just have to make decisions. But I'm like Fred, I don't see, we're not going to be able to do those other things. And it's mostly going to come down probably that what kind of drainage would, and is it stated there, the type of drainage you would need within the football field itself that would connect to these side drains? Is it required that you have drainage in the center? Oh, I know they're talking about sprinkler systems and all,
No, you do not need drains inside the field of a grass field. No.
Okay, so if we were to just crown the field like many fields are crowned, a grass field, and then it would go to the sidelines, but then you would have drainage that would take it out from each end, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. I think it's just something we'll have to explore. That's all I have, Fred.
Okay, anybody else want to talk about football? Thank you. Okay. You got anything else? Okay. Okay, we'll move on.
Mr. Curry? Mr. Curry?
Yes,
Is Danny going to be there during the administrative section?
you're gonna stay here while Dana?
I can.
Okay. Okay, you don't care to stay?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, at this time, we'll go to administrative items. We'll have a motion. Mr. Wilkerson. Okay, Mr. Wilkerson.
Okay. Item A is Marshall University psychology students Angela Sigmund and Rebecca Wingate to complete practicum experience in Lincoln County Schools under the supervision of Dr. Conrad Lucas Atkins during the 2015-2016 school year. Item B is out-of-county student transfers for the 2015-2016 school year. Item C, school volunteers who on occasion may also serve as bus chaperones for athletic events, academic competitions, or school outings, and have completed volunteer orientation. Item D is an agreement with Gene Boudreaux to monitor goals, objectives, and activities established in the Education Innovation Zone grant to determine if the project is achieving the desired outcomes according to the terms of the agreement. See the attachment and it's paid for through the Innovation Zone grant. Item E, a new job description and authorization to post a position for family engagement facilitator effective immediately. See the attachment. Item F, Marshall University student Emily Miller to complete required clinical hours at Ranger Elementary for the fall semester. Item G, an agreement with Acme Drug Testing LLC to provide drug screening of randomly selected career technical education students at Lincoln County High School during the 2015-2016 school year as required in policy 5530.02, career technical education, workplace simulation, according to the terms of the agreement. See the attachment. This is being paid for through a CTE grant provided by the State Department. Item H is an agreement with the State Auditor of West Virginia to provide annual audit of individual schools' financial records for the fiscal year ending June the 30th, 2015, according to the terms of the agreement. See the attachment as well. This is being funded through county funds. Item I, and I want to revise this one. I'm going to add some additional language to the end of this item. It's going to say to award a bid to Simcoe for chiller repairs and preventative maintenance services at a cost of $46 per hour with 12% above cost for parts. No truck charge or any other additional fees for chillers and related equipment. Brenda, I want to add these to it. It's also going to say this bid is awarded for the current fiscal year ending June 30th, 2016. Services may be canceled by either party at any time for appropriate cause. And the last item, item J, designation of the following employees to provide specialized health care for the 2015-2016 school year.
Anyone have any questions on any of the items? I've got a couple of questions. On item I, Dana, are you gonna give these people a checklist, what they're supposed to check?
Yes.
And they will sign off on it when they come and do this work?
Yes.
Are they gonna send well, let me ask you this. This price of $46 an hour, how does that compare to their normal wages?
How does that compare to normal?
What they've been charging us for 5 years?
That's a lot less. That's a lot less than, the state department guy said that's a lot less than he's ever seen.
So that's what bothers me.
Yeah. Yes.
Are they gonna send a technician or are they gonna send a laborer to check it?
Well, they'll have to send a technician for whatever type of equipment that we need work on, or we're both gonna have problems and we'll get somebody else. So it needs to be somebody that's familiar with chiller work and so yes. They won't be around long if they send a laborer out that doesn't know anything about chillers. That'll be pretty obvious. So no, I don't think that'll happen. But it is alarming that of the cost. It is a little bit alarming. And it is a little unusual.
Right.
Well, how can they afford to do that?
I don't know.
But can you contact them and make sure it will be a technician
Yes.
prior to them coming in?
Yes, but I don't think that'll be a problem. We don't.
And one other thing that I thought come to mind was, I understand we're gonna advertise for a boiler contract too.
Yes.
Well, you know, I don't know why we didn't put them both together. Because boilers are related equipment to the chillers. So they both use the same air handler. They both use the same APA boxes.
The-
It looks to
the
me
bid
like the
can
same
be-
contractor would have been beneficial to us.
It can be done that way.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be. There's advantages both ways. There's advantages of having all your eggs in one basket. There's advantages of having it separated. So it just, it's whatever you prefer.
Well, I didn't know where Simco even worked on boilers or not.
Yes, in my comfort zone, I would prefer them working on boilers.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody else got any questions?
Well, this- a question about, Mr. Mickle, you're having this added to the contract itself, the wordage that you have?
That is, that verbiage, the language is
Yeah.
actually part of the bid that they submitted. So that, I just wanted to make sure that the board was officially approving the very same.
So that's
language.
already on?
It's already in the bid.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
it's
okay.
there.
I didn't understand.
Mr. Mickey,
Yes, sir.
I follow up to Larry's question now. He used the word contract. Is there an actual contract, or is it just their quoting on things that were bid out, or whatever the terms are?
No, there's not an actual contract. It's the bid sheet itself serves as such, along with the purchase order that we complete for the work. I've had a conversation with Mrs. Gandy, and she's here. She can explain how that works, the process, if you'd like for her to.
Well, I was just curious, knowing that, trying to distinguish when we have contracts, they're often, they're attachments to the agenda. Why, at times we have contracts with whoever it may be to do certain things. And in these instances, apparently, we don't have an actual contract. We just rely upon what we requested and the people who bid on it and then approving that bid. I can see a difference, but I was just clarifying that this really wasn't a contract. But if Bertie wants to give me some insight, I appreciate it.
Steve?
Yes.
Okay, well, the difference is, when you guys approve, the little individual contracts, those have not went through a bidding process. So therefore, we have to do a contract which sets out the terms of what each party is going to do. But with the bidding process, when Dana puts that bid out, whatever is on that bid sheet is technically our contract that everybody has to, abide by, and it's legally binding once we accept it, and, they bid, we accept it, the board approves it, then that's the legally binding contract there.
Okay.
But for these non-bid, like I said, the non-bid, then we have to have something, and that's why we write these little contracts.
Okay. I understand that. Thank you.
Okay?
Any other questions?
Yes, Dana, please.
Yes, sir.
Dana, when these invoices are received, I assume each time that, in this instance, Simco goes and does preventive maintenance, do they typically would send an invoice each month?
When they do what now?
Well,
When they do preventive
They
maintenance?
go out and do the preventive maintenance at the high school, for
Well,
instance.
they're only gonna do preventive maintenance on chillers twice a year, on boilers once a year, and they would submit a invoice at the time I designated them to do that PM.
Oh, okay.
So, no, it wouldn't be every month, no.
Oh, okay. Well, whenever it is, so you're gonna advise them when you want the preventive maintenance done, that hasn't been.
Yes, I've already done, I did that in the bid letter.
Okay. Well, here, but my question is this: when you do get an invoice from them for doing that work, excuse me, will that invoice state on there the number of hours that they worked on that preventive maintenance job and the amount of daily rate or the daily or the pay for that job, not the daily pay, but the labor for that job?
Yes, they do.
$46. In other words,
Yes, they do.
are you going to get an invoice that's going to say 8 hours at $46 an hour?
Yes.
Is it that specific?
Yes.
Okay. That's good, because I think that's what we like to see. Is that the way that these other things are done with Simcoe now?
Yes, then Masonberry or B&K, I mean, whoever does work for us, they have an hourly rate, they have the number of hours they work for that day, and yes, so yes, it's
Well, I was
itemized.
thinking back here a little bit ago when Mr. Curry was talking about, somebody did about the, is this rate unusual or whatever? So if we were to look back a couple of months ago, we could see what Simcoe charges for an hourly rate then. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay, good, thanks.
All, Mr. Priestley?
Yes, sir. That's all I need, Fred.
Anyone else got any more questions? About any of the items, administrative items? Okay, I'll ask for a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Move to the finance, thank you, Dave. Birdie? Let's see, I need a motion. Let me have a motion.
I move.
Second.
Okay. Now, Birdie.
Okay, item A, schedule of invoices totaling $1,063,193.55. Invoices are available for public review in the county office. Item B, and we need to make a correction to item B, but let me go ahead and read it. Authorization to pay $4,979.58 to JROTC instructor Dallas Plumley as ordered by the Circuit Court of Kanawha County, Civil Action 13AA110. Now, what's on here is actually the county cost for this payment, not what we're actually gonna pay them. So what we're gonna actually pay them, or Mr. Plumley, in wages, it's going to be $5,420.66. And in interest, $1,407.53, for a total of $6,828.19. Now, the number that is on the board agenda is the county calls after we offset half of the salary that the ROTC pays. Okay. Item C, authorization to pay $4,791.62 to JROTC instructor Craig Atkins as ordered by the Circuit Court of Kanawha County, Civil Action number 13AA11-0. Okay, again, for Mr. Atkins, the wages is going to be $5,216.05. The interest is going to be $1,354.40. Total payment, $6,570.45. Item D, authorization to pay $318.92 to bus operator groundsman Wayne Salmons as ordered by the West Virginia Public Employees Grievance Board in a decision dated September the 18th, 2015, docket number 2015-0132-CONS. Item E, authorization to pay $192.14 to bus operator groundsman Keith Cook as ordered by the West Virginia Public Employees Grievance Board in a decision dated September the 18th, 2015, docket 2015-013-CONS. And item F, Lincoln County Schools annual financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th of 2015. And if you guys don't care, we'll just go through, and I'll do that at the very last, after we get finished with everything else.
Anyone got any questions? If not, I'll ask for a vote.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Personnel. Mr. Glenville, you gonna have one? Huh? Oh, motion? I'm about to have to leave. I'm usually walking guns from over this time.
I move.
Yes. Second. Mr. Morris. Okay. Now,
A, employment of short, long-term substitute professional personnel. B, employment of professional personnel pending FBI, CIB clearance and issuance of first-class permit pending the return of the regular employee. C, employment of professional personnel pending issuance of first-class permit. Item D, employment of temporary part-time professional personnel. E, transfer of professional personnel. F, employment of substitute service personnel. G, employment of service personnel. We need to pull item 3. Under G, pull item 3. H, transfer of service personnel. Item number 7, effective date is November 2nd instead of October 1st, November 2nd. I, employment of extracurricular personnel. J, leave of absence. And K, retirement and resignations. Item 4, there's a typo. It should be Duval PKA basketball, not football. Resigning from basketball, not football. Also abolish extracurricular service posting of the after-school office worker at Duval and West Hamlin. That will not be reposted. Also abolish service personnel posting at Duval for a special ed aid. That will not be reposted. Amend the minutes of the May 5th, 2015 and May 19th, 2015 meeting for the following early childhood classroom assistant teachers to read pay grade E.
Anyone have any questions? How do you vote?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, comments and concerns?
Legal update, and I'd like to ask, request an executive session for the discussion.
Well, Bertie, you want to do your thing before we're going? Okay.
Try to be brief. Let me give you what you really need to know. So let's go over our individual schools for 1 minute. So this gives you the balances of all your schools and what the, what category the funds are in. I'm just gonna go over the first one. First group is Duval, PK 8. And it has the beginning balance, that's the balance they started their school year with on July 1 of 2014. The revenues is the money they collected for the year, and the expenditures, payments for the year, and the ending balance. So, and then just all their categories or all their money is broken down into unrestricted, we call that the office account, they can kind of do whatever they want with that. Athletics, that's the money generated from ticket sales, and probably they could have fundraisers for their activities. The next one is their faculty senate. Those are funds that are distributed through the state aid formula. They come here and I write checks out to the schools. They spend it at school level. Classes, some of the classes have fundraisers to go on trips and various other items. Child nutrition, that's the collections for any meals that aren't free. Adults, second meals, extra milk. Those should always have a zero balance and it beginning and a zero ending balance, because all that money ends up coming here. Other restricted, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of some things that they would have. That could be some different little fundraising events. I know, like the Lincoln County Friends, or the Friends of Lincoln County High, that's in one of them at Lincoln LCHS. And other support organizations, that could be the PTOs, items like that. So all the schools have a total of $517,000 is what's out in our school systems. All right, that's the easy one. Okay, let's do the blue. This is the actual document that gets audited, that anytime we're doing loans or QZADs, SBA, this is the actual document that we look at. It's, you know, kind of like for accounting geeks. So, you know, I was probably being locked up for about the last month trying to get this thing prepared and get all the balance out and stuff. So I'm not going to go over too much, but we do need to know what's in it in case you get asked. So, you know, first we have our index. It's going to tell you everything that's here. And behind tab 1, a little bit of introductory information. And it has your positions and your terms. In case you forget when your term runs out, you can look and see, and hopefully those are correct. Then the next page is how much our board members got paid, and how much the superintendent got paid. It kind of threw me when I saw that amount, and I thought, well, that's not, wasn't her contract, but we had to buy out vacation days. And then the total paid to professional people after we deduct the board members and the superintendent's like 16 million. Service people, 5.4 million. Students, 4,536, and those students work with Jerry at the Auto Tech. So total salaries is $21.7 million. Other expenditures, $21,374,000. That's over the 250 limit. Under the 250 limit is $26,907. So the total non-salary expenditures was $21.4 million. Total expenditures for the year was $43.1 million. So that's just like a really consolidated. Okay. 2, this is called management discussion and analysis, and I don't know if you guys have ever run into that in any of your meetings with the State Department. Does that sound familiar with anybody? Okay, and it's just, after I do the financial statements and I just kind of come back and hit some highlights, like there under the first highlight, the board's assets plus deferred outflows of resources exceeded liabilities plus deferred inflows of resources by $54,391,507. That's our net position at the close of the most recent year. This amount, $458,000, may be used to meet the government's ongoing obligations to citizens and creditors. Now, I know that doesn't mean a whole lot to you guys. So it's just a lot of, you know, and that, so that whole MD&A just talks about stuff like that. And, you know, if you want to read it, fine. Okay, let's move on to tab 3. This is our basic financial statements. And I'll go over this one just for a minute. Our cash and cash equivalents on page 15 at the top, we had $3.9 million. Taxes receivable, $287,000, and you know I kind of mentioned that that number was up, you know, where people just weren't paying taxes as much as they were. And deposit with the retirement board, food service receivables, other receivables, PIA reimbursements, and then our capital assets. On our books, we have $2.7 million in land. We have $56.8 million in buildings and improvements. We have $4.1 million in furniture and fixtures. We have $5.6 million in vehicles. We have $14,000 construction in progress, and this is the Hamlin and Ranger window projects. And we have a total accumulated depreciation of $16.1 million. So our net capital assets is $52.8 million. And then just down at our liabilities, we had $86,000 in salary and payroll liabilities, $716 or $716,000 PEIA premiums due, $206,000 in accounts payable, other post-employment benefits. There's the OPEB, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, because that has to factor back in to get us to what our fund balance is, the magic number that everybody wants to know. So this 2.1 million is gonna work itself back in. Bonds and capital leases payable within 1 year is $102,000. That's our QZAP 2008, 2000, 2007, or 2005. We have accrued interest at $4,825. We have capital leases payable, and this is a balance, June 30th, of those two leases, $687,611. Their total liabilities and deferred inflows is $3.9 million. Investment in capital assets, $52 million. Restricted for special projects, $1.7 million. Debt service, $62 million. Let's see, that's on the, no, capital projects, $62,000. That's for our improvement fund for the window projects. And unrestricted, $458,000. And that's that number that I said we have available to meet the needs of the citizens. So that's just a really quick rundown of everything that I've been doing up there forever. It's up to that final page. The rest of the stuff, let's go to tab 4. And these are called the notes to the financial statement, which has lots of information. It details our capital leases. It details the years we depreciate our capital assets. It details our levy, the accounting practices that we use, the GASB changes, and it's just lots of accounting. Let's go to tab 5. This is other required information for financial presentation. And it just shows a variances between what we budgeted at the beginning of the year, what the ending of the year budget was, and any variances. Tab 6 is other supplemental information, basically the same thing. Tab 7 is the vendors under 250 and over 250, and I know you guys like to look at those. So there's your vendor reports. So the first 4 pages is under 250, and then the rest of it you're over 250.
This is the same thing you sent.
Yes, I went ahead and sent you a copy because I know you guys like to see that. Okay, and then tab 8 is everyone's salary, and I know you like to see that one. And Sean, I didn't tab yours.
That's no problem. I can follow along.
Sorry.
I'll still find it. Don't worry.
Yeah, Sean will find that. Okay, so this is the official financial statements that's, going to get audited, and actually I've arranged, so our auditor will start, what is today, Tuesday? She'll start Thursday. So we'll get this thing rolling and get it over with here as soon as possible.
I think I brought this up before. We have to pay for that audit.
Yes, we do.
That just doesn't.
$29,000, I think $910.
How much?
$29,910. Yeah, and everybody does. You just have to pay.
Well, I'm sure everyone does.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's right.
I know.
I'm sorry. Thank you for your applause back there.
Okay, now, this I think, I kind of put this together because I think you guys will like this a little bit better. Because you're kind of used to reading it, and I know you read it because you ask me questions about it. So, let's go to the one that's AA, or just A, page A. Because I just kind of added this in. Now, we talk about our fund balances, and everybody wants to know how much money do we have available, which is the magic number here. So the very first line, we started, and I just want to talk about our general fund because all those other funds are self-balancing. They're always going to take care of themselves. So I'm going to just talk about the general fund. We started out with a fund balance of $643,901.54. Jeff, it's the very first one.
The first?
Yeah, the very first page.
You said page 8.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's just A.
All right.
Okay, everybody good, first page. And then I'm gonna go over the first column of numbers there. All right, then our revenues and transfers in for the year was $37.1 million. Our expenditures and transfers out was $34.7 million. So there was a decrease of $626,000. Okay? So what happens is you you take your beginning fund balance, the net change, and that gives us our ending fund balance of $17,000. Okay, does everybody follow how this, how this fund balance works? Okay? Then there's, of this fund balance, some of it's restricted, that's shown on the financial statements here. Some of it is not, because we implemented the GASB accounting a few years ago. So, of that $17,000, I have $69,000 that's not really cash, I can't spend it. And it is deposits with the retirement board. That's where people leave, if they're not fully vested, that money comes back to us. So we have a balance in that account of $69,000. Okay, we also have our levy that we do every year. We don't always spend all that money, but we have to save that money and spend it for those things that that levy call says. So at the end of the year, I had $751,000 in levy money that can't be spent for whatever, it has to be spent just for the levy. Then we had little local projects of $12,000. So when you look at the financial statements over here, our unrestricted balance is going to be a negative $816,000. And then anytime, you know, we get these reports from the State Department, they're going to give you this number here, this $816,000. Okay? There's a couple other things that needs to be factored in. The OPEB number that we just talked about. So we take the $816,000, our OPEB on June 30th was $2,190,218.21. So we're going to add that back in, because nothing's ever going to happen. It just shows on our books. And I adjust it every year. We get, you know, detailed information every year that goes up or down. And it's always booked, but nothing's ever going to happen with it. So we're going to add that back in. Then we had some encumbrances that we can't show because we're already showing a negative $800,000, so they don't allow us to show any more. So I've got $136,000 in open purchase orders that are not showing. So I'm going to take that away. Then I've already used $1 million to budget 2016's budgets with. So our true, how much money we got to spend that's not designated or anything, is $237,000. Now, when I look at last year, what we had last year, we had $280,000. So we went down $43,000 over the course of the year. Now, does that kind of make it easier for you guys to understand? I think it's easier for me too, because I talk about all this stuff, but if I put it down, you know, that makes it pretty easy to see, and you can kind of see, well, what's not showing, and then I just did a little cash, or beginning cash, in the general fund on July 1 was $2.4 million, and our ending cash was $2.1 million, so our cash balance went down by $366,000 in the general fund. Okay, now, good? Everybody understands GASB accounting? Okay. And then the rest of the pages are just what you guys are used to seeing, and it's for the whole year. Instead of doing it by the month, it's the whole year. So if you want to look at any particular item, you can just get in there and see exactly what it is. And then on page 1, it has our ending balances in the cash bank accounts. You know, we talk about the athletic CD accounts. At June 30th, we had $218,966.48 in those CDs. And then the rest of it, of course, is just for our operating money. Okay.
Okay, anyone got any questions for Bertie?
Yes, I do, Fred.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Carol. Bertie, you mentioned that $237,000.
Yes.
That's what sticks out in my mind from now on. Now, earlier in the agenda, there were some settlements there, Rican settlements.
Yes.
That.
Yes, it's all, everything's in and out.
So that doesn't decrease that 237?
Well, it does, but there was enough revenue to offset it. So, you know, we just clean slate. On July 1, we started with a clean slate. We took all of our money in, we made all of our payments out, all the grievances, everything that's happened during the year, and that's what we've ended up with. So it's all factored in, yes.
Well, but so as of today, though, at 237, that's not the true figure that we have available. It's unencumbered or unusable, or what do you want to call it?
On June the 30th, it is.
Well, but not on October the, whatever today is.
Not today. No, I've got catch-up work to do.
Okay, so these settlements and all will come from that 237?
Yes, like we talked about on today's agenda.
Yeah,
Well, that's just an example.
anything we've
Those
settled
are
since
General
HCC.
grievances.
Yeah, but here's what happens, Steve, you know, just like a big pot of money, it all goes in, everything goes into a pot, and everything comes out of the pot, and then at the end of the year, you count up how much you got left in your pots. So, yeah, it comes right in and it goes out of this.
Well, so at some date or sometime will we take given time, November the 1st or something, say, you know, we've had to spend this much of the $237,000, so our available monies are now whatever it turns out to be. Is that possible?
Well, I can do that, but it really doesn't give you a clear picture, because let's think about last year, you know, we started out, we had $280,000. Okay, remember when we closed books last year and everything, that was our available balance. And then, you know, we had some pretty big hits last year.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting to. I'd like to know, you know, kind of where we stand with the hits we've already taken, and then trying to get a feel for, you know, where we are financially, should we get more hits?
Yeah. I mean, I can give you an estimate, but, you know, just like, you know, we get extra money in, or we don't get money that we had projected to have, or, you know, I've got budgeted expenses that we think we're gonna have, that maybe we're not gonna have, and then we have expenses that I didn't budget for. So, I mean, I can give you a ballpark, but, you know, in the end, it just all kind of washes itself out. Because, you know, maybe, you know, like I said, I've got $1 million budgeted out of this ending balance, and of course, most of it is to cover payroll. Well, you know, past history has shown that we don't really end up using that $1 million, because I always have some extra carryover, because we notice almost every year, I get up and talk to you guys, I have about $1 million I use to balance the budget. But as I go through that year, we don't use that $1 million. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I understand
Yeah.
it would be an exact science to it, but just
I mean, if we wanna look at-
a general idea of what monies might be available for something. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's hard to,
Yeah.
you know, write down due to expenses changing and revenues changing and all that.
And you usually give us a ballpark number come personnel season.
Yeah, personnel season, yeah,
Which
yeah.
are just around the corner.
Yeah, 'cause- and, you know, personnel's what eats your lunch, the personnel. But actually, you know, I think we ended up very well, quite pleased, you know, because we did have several big hits last year. So, which tells me, you know, we got some additional money in, and, you know, maybe we saved on some expenses that, you know, we had budgeted that we didn't end up having to pay, so we did quite well, I thought. And now let me tell you something else that I did, which probably, that the cash balance, where you see that $366,000, I took some of the little local projects, which you guys don't see, but Jeff sees and Bill, we have all these little local projects that we have set aside that I account for individually. And it always throws these balances out, and it looks like we have more money to just spend than what we really do. So what I did this year was I took all of those and I moved those over into the special revenue account. Jeff, remember when I did all that, so that it doesn't look like we have this money to spend that we really don't, because we've already set it aside for, you know, like the bus purchases, that's one thing. So all that money that come in for the sale of the buses, we now have that set aside just for the bus purchases, and it's down in our special revenue account. You know, this flood money that's coming in, you know, it's set aside down there, so that it doesn't get intermingled with our general fund and, you know, leads us to think we have more money to spend than what we do. So a good portion of that change, if you'll look over into the 6-1, their cash balance went up. The general fund went down, but the 6-1 went up in the cash. So, like I said, I'm, you know, pretty pleased that our fund balance didn't go down any more than it did. And we're, you know, with all the things, like I said, we had a couple of really big hits there last year. And, well, you know, just, we had the Ramey grievance, that was substantial. And then we had to pay the speech people, that national award, so there was a couple, just two right off the top of my head, so. Any questions? And you guys know, if you have any questions, just email me and I'll try to answer any of them. Thanks that you have.
Thank you a lot for
Okay.
Good job. Okay. No other comments, I'll ask for motion to go into executive session. So moved. Mr. Wilkerson, Smith, is that an all yes vote?